Norman Parkinson. Well, that's actually not his real name, but we'll get into that. So Ronald William Parkinson Smith is one of the best fashion photographers that we know. And he actually revolutionized fashion photography for 5 decades. Now, a couple fun facts about him. He did not see himself as a fashion photographer, but the appeal of photographing people is really what made him great at his craft. And now I'm specifically using the word craft because the other fun fact is he didn't see himself as an artist. He saw himself as a craftsman, which is very different from all the previous people I have done on this channel so far. A lot of them were artists. They had an artist background. They went to art school, something like that or the other. And yet he doesn't see himself as an artist. He sees himself as a person who creates photos. Now, Norman Parkinson, or Ronald Parkinson, I'll explain the name in a minute. He had so many lifetime achievements. He's photographed the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Princess Anne's engagement. He's done the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Audrey Hepburn. I don't know who he didn't do during his lifetime. There's so many people. He's also received the Lifetime Achievement Award. He's received so many awards throughout his lifetime as well. It's just, the list can go on, but let's talk a little bit more about his background. So Ronald Parkinson at this point in time was born and raised in London. He got an apprenticeship at a photography studio by Spite & Sons Ltd. Eventually, he actually got his own studio and he partnered with a Norman Kibblewhite. So they actually put their names together and put Ronald Parkinson and Norman Kibblewhite to make Norman Parkinson. And that's actually how he got his name. The partnership didn't last too long, but he ended up keeping the name Norman Parkinson. I guess it just sounded better to him. It rolls off the tongue a little bit easier for him. But, you know, it's a great name, so I can't say no to that. So eventually, he actually ended up working with the British editor of Harper's Bazaar, which started this lifelong journey with them. He also got into Vogue magazine and so many other ones. And honestly, his achievements, as I said before, just keep going up and up and up, where he got the royal family. He got all the famous people at his time. But let's see, what can we actually learn from Norman Parkinson? Now, the first point I want to make here is that Norman Parkinson broke through the glass ceiling here by shooting outdoors. I'm guessing by that time, it was a lot more studio, a lot more controlled light and everything like that, but he really brought the fashion photography outside. And that's something that we do today, right? But the main point here is make the environment more inclusive in your photos. Have the environment help to tell the story you're telling with the model. Now, as a side note for anybody out there, you don't need flash. You just need to know how to use the sun. You know, if you're a beginner or if you don't have a flash set, that's an important note. You know, you don't need all the equipment. As long as you have the sun on your side and a camera that can shoot photos, it's more about the storytelling than it is about the equipment. And with Norman Parkinson, he usually just had his camera, he had the model, and he used the environment that he had to the fullest. To add on to the environment is he shot something that I think was coined by him, maybe not, but it's called action realism. In other words, the model's not just standing still, she's not just twirling around. The model is actually moving or posing in a way that is going to create motion or some action is about to happen. So when you look at the photos, you can see somebody who's about to dive into water, you can see somebody who's dancing, you can see somebody who's doing something. So they're not just still, they're not just stagnant, but you can see that something is about to happen or something is happening at this current moment. Now, this is a quote by Norman Parkinson. He said, "My aim is to take moving pictures with a still camera." And it's that motion, it's that action that brings you apart from everybody else. And I'm a person who's really obsessed with motion in photos now and really obsessed with color. And he's like right up my alley with all this. But I feel like the action and the movement bring another perspective to your photos and just makes it a little bit more interesting. So for my third point, it's kind of a wrap up of the first 2 points. And it's still a correlation that I find with Peter Lindbergh. It's about the story, it's not about the fashion. You know, the fashion can come secondary, but you have to be able to tell an interesting story with the model and the environment that you have. At the end of the day, with photography, you are a storyteller, whether you're an artist or a craftsman. The photos that we take are telling some kind of story. And so giving more thought to story probably will elevate all of our photography altogether, and that is something that we should all concentrate on. Now, I usually do this in the beginning, but I had the book in my lap with my script, so I forgot to bring it up. But This is the book I have. It's actually called Always in Fashion. And honestly, this has all 5 decades of Norman Parkinson's photos, all the way from the 30s to I think he passed in 2004-ish, some early 2000s. Honestly, it has everything. And you can see his photography develop all the way from black and white, all the way through color, all the different models, the locations and everything. Honestly, this book is super duper interesting. I definitely recommend it to everybody. Definitely a must-have if you guys are into photography, regardless of whatever field, because you just get such a different perspective with this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely hit that like button down below. Also leave a comment about who's another photographer we can look into, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one.